Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to doctors. Our group will be presenting about rising bullying cases, which is a threat to the school community. These are the group members of our group, which is group 4. What is bullying? Bullying is intentional and persistent threatening and aggressive physical behavior or verbal abuse directed towards other people, especially towards who are younger, smaller, weaker, or in some other situation of relative disadvantage that limits their capacity to protect themselves. There are a few types of bullying, which are cyberbullying, sexual bullying, verbal bullying, social bullying, relational bullying, and physical bullying. All these kind of bullying can happen anywhere, which is why school bullying has become a growing concern.
Why bullying still happen in schools? The failure of a system for monitoring in school may be the cause of bullying among students. This is because it is more challenging to keep an eye on every student's movement and activities in the schools due to the small numbers of teachers and staff. As a result, lots of kids use this as an excuse to act aggressively towards other classmates. Next, students who are younger than their bully or peer who are lower in status are typically the target victim of bullying because they are unable to defend themselves. Furthermore, it seems that gender also play a role in this problem since students males are 1.73 times more likely to engage in bullying, possibly as a result of psychological factor that may cause violence behavior. According to Raj Kumar, kids with bad peer relationship and difficulties with teachers are more likely to engage in bullying than the student with stronger, more positive relationships. This occurs as a result of the majority of teachers treating and instructing their students differently, which leave them feeling excluded and jealousy. It is crucial to consider emotional stress since it shows student potentials for mental wellness.
In this part, I would like to explain the impacts of bullying. So, how exactly it affects students? I already divided it into three sections. Firstly, academic impact, next, psychological consequences, and lastly, physical health. On to the first part, Han 2025 observed that academic performance of the victim is often compromised that will result in the decline in grades and learning outcomes. In addition, bully will induce the exam anxiety that targets the performance during assessments like quiz or practical tests. Moreover, the victims will have trouble to focus in the class due to cognitive interferences. From the view of psychological consequences, ZAO 2024 identified a correlation between the severity of the bullying experience and the level of psychological harm. The higher level of bullying, the more intense the harm will be. Secondly, there's also a risk of mental health that will increase the likelihood of developing long-term depression. Furthermore, the effects of bullying can even persist into adulthood, leading to suicidal ideation. Last but not least, bullying will affect students' physical health like frequent headache, insomnia, and abdominal pain. They will even suppress their appetite. The victims may also experience chronic fatigue and muscle strain.
My name is PUTRI ALIAH. So, let's move on to the next point where some initiatives were taken in order to curb this bullying matter. And one of them is implementation of strict monitoring system. Nowadays, surveillance is no longer just a luxury, but a proactive necessity. As we can see, the Malaysian government has demonstrated its commitment to this through an 8 million ringgit anti-bullying project aimed at installing CCTV system in high-risk schools. As of late 2024, the number of schools that successfully equipped with the CCTV system is 149 out of the 200 targeted schools. This is equivalent to the 75% completion rate. But did you guys know how they determine the placement of these cameras? According to Shakari, the cameras were placed following the Chief Government Security Officer (CGSO) recommendation, where they're targeting for the blind spot, such as hostel hallways and stairwells, dining hall, and remote spaces where bullying typically persists. However, this method also has its own limitation. A significant challenge remains, namely in washroom and dormitories. Because these are private areas, cameras cannot be installed. These secluded spots often become the primary sites for bullying because they lack the supervision of school. This critical gap, surveillance alone cannot bridge. Looking forward, the government is leveling up this technology by exploring integration with PDRM network. This allows for real-time monitoring and faster response times during emergency. Next, we move to the last point of our presentation.
Moving on to our second major solution, we look at the enforcement of policies and the counseling system. While physical monitoring like CCTV is helpful, we must also address the rude behaviors and provide emotional support for those involved. Our priority is early intervention. By identifying problematic behaviors early, we can stop bullying before it escalates into more serious harm. To support this, the government must implement anti-bullying policies. These policies are on rules on paper. They ensure that strict, consistent actions are taken whenever harmful bullying occurs in our schools. Beyond disciplines, we must provide mental health support. Counseling services are vital to help victims process their experiences and recover emotionally. When we combine strict policy with active counseling, we succeed in creating a safe environment. This transforms the school into a place where students feel protected enough to focus on their learning rather than their safety. However, we must address a significant hurdle, trust issue. Many victims remain silent because they fear that sharing their problems with teachers or counselors might lead to their secrets being exposed or worse, rejections from the bullies. For these enforcement measures to work, we must build a culture of confidentiality and trust so that no students feels that they have to keep the secrets just to survive. By strengthening both our rules and our support system, we can create a harmonious school culture built on mutual respect.
In conclusion, bullying is a serious issue that needs to be emphasized since it can affect an individual emotion, social and academic performance of an individual, especially a student. However, all parties must cooperate in curbing these bullying cases in order to maintain the security in school and make the school's environment safe. Thank you.